A younger hiker can be stronger than you. They can be faster than you. And they can still not out-hike you by the end of the day. That might sound a little strange, but if you've spent much time on the trail, you've probably seen this happen. The fast hiker takes off early. The steady hiker just keeps moving. And somewhere around mile 8 or 10, the whole thing starts to change. So this video is not about pretending that you're 25 again. And it's not really about beating younger hikers. It's about learning how to hike in a way that doesn't fall apart later on. By the end of this, you'll understand why the hiker that lasts the longest is usually not the one that looks the strongest at the trailhead. But to understand that, we've got to start with a mistake that a lot of people make and don't even realize it. A lot of hikers treat the trail like a fitness test, and I get it. When you feel good at the start of a hike, it's really easy to start out too fast. Or you push yourself to the point where you start breathing hard a little early. And for a while, it feels like you're making great time. Then you end up having to stop. You've got to take some time to recover. And then you start again. And then you eventually have to stop again. And then eventually the whole day turns into this pattern. You push too hard, you recover too late, you push too hard again, and then you wonder why the trail feels harder than it should. And just to be clear, this is not just a younger hiker thing. I've done this plenty of times myself. But when you're younger, your body lets you get away with it more often because you can pace badly and still finish the day. You can sleep poorly and still feel okay the next day. You can bomb down a hill and maybe your knees don't complain too much. But as you get older, those same mistakes start to get more expensive. And that's where the real lesson's gonna start. The trail usually doesn't punish you for going slow. It punishes you for going too hard too long. The problem's not that the fast hiker is moving. The problem's that they're probably building up an energy debt that their body's gonna cash in later. I like to think of this as effort debt. And this is the part that tricks a lot of hikers. Because at first, it still feels like progress. You're moving forward, you're gaining ground. You may even feel strong. But if you're hiking above what your body can comfortably sustain, you're borrowing energy from later in the day. Early on, it may feel like speed, but later, it shows up by having to take longer breaks, or having sore knees, or heavy legs. And that feeling where every mile is taking more out of you than it should, that's effort debt. And the older you get, the more honest your body gets about it. That's not weakness, it's feedback. And experienced hikers learn to listen to that feedback early on. Normally they slow down before their breathing gets out of control. They eat before their battery's dead. They drink before their mouth feels dry. Or they just adjust before the trail forces them to stop. Because when you hike too hard early, you may gain a few minutes early in the morning, but you can lose a lot more than that in the afternoon. And once you start seeing it that way, a slower hiker can start looking a lot different. Because the fastest hiker on the trail is not always the one moving the fastest. This is what I like to call the turtle strategy. And I know we've all heard that. But honestly, this might be one of the biggest things that help people hike farther without getting destroyed. A hiker may be moving at 3 miles an hour, and on paper, that sounds faster. But if they're stopping every 20 minutes to breathe, cool down, drink water, adjust their pack, take layers off, eat something, or just to recover, that's not really a 3 mile an hour pace anymore. Now compare that to a hiker that's moving at 1.5 to 2 miles an hour. They may not look fast, they may not look impressive. At the beginning, they may even look like they're falling behind. But notice how easy they're breathing. They're eating before their battery's low. They're protecting their knees. They're not overheating. They're not having to stop for long rests. They're just continuing to keep moving. And over a full day, that can change things. The hiker moving 3 miles per hour but stopping every 20 minutes may look faster. But the hiker moving 1.5 to 2 miles an hour, breathing easy, eating before they crash, protecting their knees, and not needing long recovery stops may cover more ground by the end of the day. And that's the part that a lot of people may miss. This is not about being slow. It's about staying below the point where your body starts charging interest. The older hiker advantage is not speed. It's knowing how to stay under that line. But pacing is only the first piece of this. But even good pacing will not help if you wreck tomorrow, tonight. When you're younger, you can sometimes sleep badly, eat poorly, wake up stiff, and still push through the next day. As you get older, that gets harder. Bad recovery starts to matter more. And this is where I think some hikers get the wrong idea. Recovery's not just comfort. It's part of your hiking system. If you arrive at camp empty, cold, hungry, and mentally cooked, tomorrow starts in a hole. That's why your sleep system starts to matter more. Not because everybody needs the fanciest gear, but because the longer you hike and the older you get, the more tomorrow depends on how you recover tonight. At some point, comfort stops being comfort. It becomes part of how you keep hiking. And that actually starts before you actually crawl into your tent. It starts when you choose not to crush yourself in the last mile. It starts if you eat before your body battery's empty. It starts by hydrating yourself before you actually start to feel thirsty. It starts by regulating your body temperature by putting on that layer before you're actually cold. In my experience, the hikers who last the longest are normally not the ones who suffer the most. A lot of times they're the ones who recover the best. And once you start thinking about tomorrow while you're still hiking today, you start treating your knees differently too. Especially on part of the trail where the ego can get expensive. A lot of hikers focus on the climb, and that makes sense. The climb's obvious. You feel them in your lungs. You feel them in your legs. It's really easy for them to get your attention. But for a lot of hikers, especially as we're getting older, the downhill is where the bill comes due. Downhill is where people get careless. They take big steps. They let gravity carry them. They land hard. And for a while, they may get away with it. But eventually, our knees will remember. This is where trekking poles can be a game changer. And I don't think of trekking poles as just old person's gear. I think of them as load management tools. They help spread the workout. They help with balance. They even help control your speed. And on long downhills, they can keep you from turning every step into a little impact test for your knees. The goal is not to prove that your knees can take it. The goal is to make sure that they still want to hike tomorrow. So experienced hikers often descend a little differently. They take shorter steps. They stay more in control, and they end up having less ego and use better foot placement. It can be a place that looks almost too careful at first. And again, that may not look impressive. But we're not trying to win the first mile. We're trying to keep moving well at mile 10 or 20. Now, poles aren't the whole answer. Pack weight matters. Shoes matter. Strength and mobility matters. But the trail habit comes first. Try and descend with control before your knees force you to. Because the biggest advantage may not be your legs. It may be how early you notice the day changing. This is the advantage that doesn't really show up in people's legs. A strong hiker can push through a problem. An experienced hiker often keeps the problem from ever becoming a problem. Experienced hikers notice earlier. They slow down before they're wiped out. And they stop before pride makes the decision for them. This is where years on trail really start to matter. Because experience is not just about having a bunch of old stories. It's pattern recognition. Because you know what happens if you ignore the hot spot on your foot. You know what happens if you skip water just because the next source is not that far away. You know what happens if you keep pushing because you don't want to admit that you need a break. And after enough time on trail, you start to make smaller adjustments earlier. That's not dramatic, but it keeps you moving. Younger hikers often have the advantage of power, but experienced hikers often have the advantage of pattern recognition. And over a long day, that matters more than you think. Because the trail doesn't usually fall apart all at once. It starts with little things. You get a little too hot, a little too hungry, a little too tired, a little too sore, or just a little too impatient. And if you catch those things early, you can keep the day from turning against you. And that leads to the part that nobody really talks about. Experienced hikers are normally not tougher because nothing hurts. They're tougher because they've learned how to stay calm when something actually does. As you get older, hiking may feel different. Your knees may complain more. Your feet may need more attention. You may not bounce back from a bad night of sleep like you used to. You may need more warm-up time in the morning. And none of that means that you're done. It just means that the way that you hike has to become more honest. And honestly, I think that's one of the gifts of experience. Not that everything gets easier, but that you stop turning every hard moment into a test of your pride. You start learning the difference between discomfort and danger, between being tired and being in trouble, between needing a break and needing to turn around, and between pushing through and just being stubborn. Experience doesn't mean that the trail stops being hard. It just means that you stop treating every hard moment like an emergency. Calm can keep small moments small, and small problems are a lot easier to hike with than big ones. So when we talk about out hiking somebody younger, this is what I'm talking about. This was never really about beating younger hikers. Youth does have advantages. Strength matters. Fitness matters. And if you're younger, enjoy that. Use it well. But if you're getting older, or if you're starting to feel your body change on trail, I don't think that the answer is to pretend that nothing's different. The answer is to hike wiser. Spend your energy better. Recover before you're empty. Protect your knees before they hurt. Notice problems before they become decisions that you don't want to make. And stop measuring yourself with the version of you that could get away with these kind of mistakes. The goal is not to hike like you're younger again. The goal is to hike in a way that lets you stay strong, steady, and capable for years to come. You don't out-hike younger people by acting younger. You do it by hiking wiser. And if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, or even beyond, I'd love to hear what's worked for you. Drop it down in the comments below, because I think a lot of people need to hear that kind of wisdom. As always, guys, I hope this was useful for you. And hopefully, I see you out on the trail.